Hey everybody, Opinionated Cheapskate. If all goes well, I'm going on a 3-day backpacking trip next weekend. And so I had to organize all my stuff, get everything laid out here on the table, and so before it all goes in the pack, I thought I would stop and take a minute and shoot a quick video for all of you so you can see some of the gear choices I've made. Hopefully this information is a little valuable as you're thinking about your own loadout for your next backpacking adventure. Alright, let's get into it. So start over here on the left hand side, this column of stuff right here. I think of all of this as really sleeping and shelter related, and so I do kind of organize my stuff by its activity so I know what I have and where it all is as I'm laying it out. And so this is the sleeping in and keeping the rain off you part of the trip. All right, first my air mattress. This is the Nemo Astrolite 25. It's the long wide version of the pad because I'm a big guy. I've been very happy with that pad. It doesn't provide a lot of insulation, but it's quite comfortable and it's a very nice weight. So something I would recommend to everybody. Next, this Sea to Summit waterproof compression sack is actually the MSS, the patrol bag out of the military sleep system. So a piece of military surplus kit. It comes in, the bag itself comes in at 2 pounds, 2 ounces. So it's great for the kind of backpacking trip that I'm going to do here, which is in August where it's warm. Probably the temperature even up in the mountains is not going to dip much below 60 even at night. And so a lightweight bag like that is perfect for the conditions I expect to encounter. Moving on, this is my tent. Probably one of the heavier things I'm taking, but it's still under 4 pounds. This is the Sierra Designs. I've done a whole review on this tent. There's other videos out there about it. I have fixed the leak in it, and I have a very ultralight footprint that I've tucked right in here. This is just a very thin something I bought on Amazon for 20 bucks. Far less weight and far cheaper than the factory footprint. So, but I've used it before and it works well. All right, coming on next, this is a very clearly luxury item that many people who are particularly ultralight backpackers are going to laugh at me about. This is actually a pillow. This is the Thermarest compressible pillow. When you open it up, it actually inflates almost to residential size, and it's filled with the little foam things that they make Thermarest mattresses out of. It weighs 12 ounces, which is a lot for a pillow, but I have found through experience that I don't sleep very well if I try to use my clothes as a pillow, or if I try to use one of those inflatable air pillows. I just don't get a good night's sleep. And so I've found that yes, this is 12 ounces. I would really like to leave at home, but the reality is that the quality of life metric versus the 12 ounces, I eat the 12 ounces happily so. So it's also, I think, maybe a good recommendation for people, particularly people who have not been doing this for very long, just getting into backpacking and thinking about some of these issues. Yes, it's absolutely true that the more weight you carry, the unhappier you are. You're going to have to lug it up big, heavy mountain, big steep mountains, and so every ounce counts. And so yes, you want to try to minimize what you put in the pack. You want to understand what everything weighs, and you want to reduce that weight as much as possible, because the better you are, you're just going to be better off as you do that. So it's a good idea to cut weight, but it's also okay to occasionally, when you really know what you're doing and you're comfortable with it, to break that rule for something that you really actually find that you need, and that pillow is in that category for me. So enough defense of the pillow. We're going to move on. All right, the next piece of kit is actually something a lot of ultralight backpackers are already aware of, some aren't. It's something called Reflectix. It's basically the stuff that people use to insulate air conditioning ducts or things like that. It's used in the building trades, and it's basically 2 pieces of mylar with some sturdy bubble wrap around them. The bubbles actually don't pop when you use it. And the way you use that is you lay that down on the floor of your tent, then you put your air mattress on top of it, and then you put your sleeping bag on top of that. And the reason why you do that is really twofold. One, it protects the air mattress in case there's anything sort of sharp that's poking through the tent floor, keep it from popping. And then more importantly, it also provides a thermal layer which protects you from conduction of heat down into the ground. When you're lying on the ground, one of the real problems you have is that the ground is always colder than you are, much colder than you are. And so it will just suck heat out of you all night long if you don't put some kind of insulation insulating layer between yourself and the ground. And when you have a very lightweight, backpacking friendly air pad like this without much insulation in it, it becomes particularly important that you have something like that between you and the ground. The other thing people tend to often use for that is a closed cell foam pad. I found that that performs a little bit better and weighs a little bit less than even my thin closed cell foam pad, so it's now it's replaced that in my kit. All right. The next column of stuff here we get into is food and water, basically. These are my water bottles. These might be familiar to you. These are simply washed out 1 liter Gatorade bottles. Yes, you can take Nalgene bottles and they're nicer. They're more sturdy. You don't have to worry about losing the cap, but you're paying about 100 grams weight penalty per bottle. And given how much water weighs as it is, I think that going with the Gatorade bottles is a nice savings. So definitely a good plan from my perspective. This is my water purification stuff. I'm not going to pull this all apart. This is just the Sawyer's, the mini squeeze. Perfectly fine water purification thing. Again, not very heavy. Behind this, again, is something I'm not going to pull out. I'll just describe what's in this. This is my all my cook stuff. I have a GSI Halulite tea kettle, which is a lightweight aluminum tea kettle, a very small titanium cup, and a MSR pocket rocket and a small cylinder. That's what's in there. Ideally, it would be great if I could consolidate my little Halulite tea kettle and my cup into one larger pot. And at some point, maybe down the line, I will do that, but an appropriately sized titanium pot's $50, and I'm not really going to save very many grams over what I have already. So for now, I'm continuing to use the two things. It seems fine. It's not. I think it's not on the high list of things that I'm going to replace at some point. I probably will do that. Here behind this, in something else, again, I'm not going to pull apart, is just my food bag. Maybe I'll do a separate video just on the contents of that. That's all my food for 3 full days worth of stuff. So fits in there quite nicely, and you know, it's all pretty easy to make. It's all stuff that you make in a freezer bag. Just boil up, put some hot water in, and then you're good to go. So we'll talk about that maybe in another video. All right, now before I move over to the other side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the camera to the other half of the table, and we can talk about the stuff on the other side. All right, everybody, through the magic of editing, I am back immediately. Let's talk about the stuff on the right side of the table now. Let's start down here at the bottom. This is sort of electronics, electrical stuff, and so forth. Headlight, it's pretty self-explanatory. This is the waterproof housing I use for my cell phone. This is, you know, I don't really need a cell phone when I'm going into the woods, but I do need a GPS. I do like having a book. I like having a camera, and I can have all of those things. I can even have a little, you know, ability to watch movies if I want to on the small screen. I don't really do that, but at least in theory I could, I suppose. In any event, this is having a cell phone along is a handy thing, but you really want to put it in something that's going to be protected from the elements, and so I have a waterproof case for that. In order to have a cell phone, I need to have a way to charge it while I'm in the woods, and this is a new purchase for me and something I'm actually very, very happy with. This is the Anker 10,000 milliamp hour battery pack. The thing about this is great, is it's just sort of the perfect size. You can get, I don't know, 4 or 5 charges of even an iPhone 6 Plus out of this thing. It doesn't weigh very much. It's not very big. It's very well made. I think it's sort of the perfect size for the typical backpacking trip. You know, they also make smaller ones, but they don't really have enough juice. They make ones that are bigger than this, which are great if you're going out for 2 weeks or something. But this is sort of perfect for the typical, you know, 3 or 4 day backpacking trip that most of us is all we can get away for. So I think this is an awesome thing, and it's like, I think it's $25, $27, something like that. So very big fan of the Anker battery. And I have the cords and stuff here there to charge it. Oh, I also have this thing. I don't know whether this is any good or not. This is one of these, like, yeah, I bought this. I got suckered into it. We'll see whether it actually is a good thing or not. There's this thing. It's called the Lumen Noodle, and I bought it off of the Amazon Prime super special deal. But even outside the special deal, it's not very expensive. It's essentially just a piece of waterproof cordage with LEDs strung into it, and it plugs into a USB port. So the idea is, you know, you're already having to take this thing down the trail because you need this for your phone or whatever, your GPS, and so you might as well have this as well and just use the same battery for both. And that's how it works. You just have a, you know, and it comes with things to help hang it from your tent or hang it from the trees or whatever. And interestingly, it actually weighs less than even my very lightweight camping lantern. And so I'm thinking, yeah, I've saved a few grams. I mean, it's not very much lighter, but I've saved a few grams, and I actually have something in some ways that's a little more flexible than just the little camping light I would normally bring. And so, yeah, okay, great. Why don't we try this out and see how it goes? What I'm going to do is take this out, see how it performs out in the field, and I'll maybe do a review of it when I get back. If it didn't work out, but I'm going to give it a try on this next trip. All right, put that back in there. You see me putting this back. What else we want to talk about here? Oh yes, all right, yes. I have become a nervous Nelly. I went ahead and finally bought myself the Fast Find personal locator beacon. That story of that woman up in from the summer who was lost hiking on the Appalachian Trail. She got lost in a place where there was no cell service. She couldn't find the trail again. She ended up dying. I decided that it was time. Supposedly she was experienced, and somehow that still happened to her. I find that difficult to believe, but I guess that's the story that's being reported. In any event, what this is a GPS-based, satellite-based locator beacon. It's kind of like for ships lost at sea, but they now shrink it down and allow it to be used on land. What it does is you rip open this thing inside here. I'll pull out the little thing itself. This is what it looks like. You rip the top off of this, a little antenna flips out of it. It shoots a signal up to the network of search and rescue military satellites that are covering the entire globe. Those satellites pick up your signal, identify you, and they send a message to the local search and rescue saying who you are, where you are, and that you are in a whole lot of trouble. For $220, yes, I hope I never have to pull that out. I assume that it's $220 that will be lost forever. But given that I do a fair amount of backpacking in places where there is no cell service, I think it's probably an insurance policy worth having these days. So I've decided to go ahead and put that into my pack. I think it's money and ounces well spent. All right, what's next on the list? Okay, over here is this open little bag is basically repair kit. There's not much to say about that. I've got in here, this is bank line. I'm not going to say a lot about this other than to say, if you have a lot of paracord in your kit right now, think about the breaking strength you really need for the applications you're using paracord today. I bet that most of what you do, you probably could get away with using bank line. And bank line is, instead of 550 breaking strength, it's more like about 150, 180 pound breaking strength. And it's much, much lighter. So for most of the things that you normally do around camp, you don't need that extra strength, and you're just carrying a lot of extra weight you don't really need. So yeah, sure, there are places and purposes where you need to have that heavier gauge of wire or of string, but my cordage needs, I find bank line does a great job and much, much less weight. What else? So these are water purification tablets. This is a backup in case something goes wrong with my Sawyer over there. I can still not have my trip ruined. I can still make water clean just using these tablets by letting it sit for a little while. Duct tape in here. Another backup. So I don't have to carry the lumen noodle everywhere if my thing fails. I have a little through night TI3 flashlight. It's a nice little flashlight. Got a multi-tool in here. And these, why are you taking these? These are actually binder clips. What these are for is you have a set of documents that's so thick you actually can't staple them together. You put these clips on and it holds, 50 or 60 sheets of paper together. A lot of offices have this thing, as does mine. What I've used these for is actually as clothespins when I'm out camping. I don't want to carry real clothespins, but I'm often want to hang things up, even if it's just my towel, but frequently my socks and so forth. I want to set up a clothesline and hang up my stuff. I don't want it to blow off the line. I want it to hang freely and get as much air as possible. These are basically little tiny, almost free and very lightweight and cheap clothespins. So I carry, I don't know, 4 or 5 of those along with the rest of my tools. All right, let's see what else we want to talk about. First aid kit's pretty self-explanatory, as is the blister thing. This is sunscreen. This is bug spray. This is the Consumer Reports top-rated bug spray. It has Picardia in it, not DEET, and it's been found to be particularly effective against ticks. Since I am hiking in deer tick / Lyme disease territory, I really want to have sort of the best product available for anti-tick purposes, and this Picardium stuff is definitely, at least according to Consumer Reports. So I would recommend that to everybody. This here in the back, the typical bear in the woods bag, toilet paper, the shovel, that kind of stuff. Not much to say about that. These are some very ultralight and very cheap camp shoes I bought on Amazon. These were about $10 or $11. I don't expect them to last a million years. They're not super well made, but they're made well enough. And the nice thing is they weigh very little, and they're going to allow my hot feet to ventilate when I get to camp. So nice pair of camp shoes. These are also will dry very fast. They're all plastic, so they'll be good. If I have to do any water crossings, these are definitely going to be better than flip-flops. Compass and knife, don't need to talk about that. This is I don't expect rain for this trip, so I don't have any rain pants, but I do have the rain. I still have the rain jacket. That's just an ultralight Mountain Hardwear, supposedly breathable jacket that I've been very happy with. Underneath it is the commercial size garbage bag, which I find is just handy for keeping stuff dry. I use it like a pack cover, only if I put my pack down somewhere and I want to keep it dry, I put it on, either put it on that or put it in that. It keeps everything dry and clean, and it's heavy duty, so it doesn't rip. It's a good bit of waterproof kit for not very much money. This is my toiletry bag, toothbrush and all that stuff. Not very interesting. 2 things in this I will talk about though. I'm trying these. Where I'm going, I probably wouldn't bring this if I knew I was going to have good water at my campsite, and I think I'm not. This is where I'm going. The water's not so great, so I'm probably going to have a dry campsite. So water's going to be spare when I get there. These are for like people coming out of surgery, people who are in nursing homes or whatever and have trouble bathing traditionally, bathing around a cast or something, and they you don't need any water. It's just a little towel that hopefully basically is like a giant baby wipe, and I'm hoping that these help me get cleaned up at the end of the day, even when I have a dry camp and I don't have a lot of water to deal with. So we'll see. There's a little bit of weight. I'm not 100% sold that this is going to be a useful thing. I'm going to try this out and see what I think. If it may be that it's too much weight and it's not good enough, but I'll give it a shot. The other thing I carry, and this is something I've carried for years, and people laugh at me, and you know what? They can laugh. I don't care. This is like I don't know. It's a thing that like women use to clean themselves. Basically, it's a scruffy thing. It's what I found with this is I don't carry very much soap. I have in my thing, I have a little bit of camp soap, which is the only soap I carry. It's to wash my pots and pans. It's also how I wash myself. And since I carry so little of that, it needs to go far. And so if I actually am at a place where there's enough water, I find you can use just a little bit of soap and use this, and you can get a whole lot cleaner with hardly any soap. So this is a great way to save soap, and soap is heavy. So this on the other hand, weighs almost nothing. So this is a great little tip, I think, for people who are thinking about ways to save weight. And you know what? If your buddy laughs at you while you're using this, so what? Who cares? Are you that childish? I mean, really? Come on, just suck it up and get clean and laugh all the way to the bank because you have saved some weight on your pack. All right, so that's it. I think that's enough of this. Hopefully this has been helpful to you. Have a nice afternoon, everybody. Thanks.